Hello everybody, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and welcome to our Series 4 Conceptual Framework and Accounting Standards. For our very first lesson, we will be having Part 1 of Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. Let's start. So, giving you first a brief history of the framework. So, thanks to Deloitte IAS Plus for this short history. So, in April 1989, we have what we call the Framework for the Preparation and Presentation of Financial Statements, which was approved by the International Accounting Standards Committee. And then in July 1989, that framework was published and then it was adopted by the International Accounting Standards Board in April 2001. When I was college, first year college to be very specific, in September 2010, nirelease po yung bagong Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting na 2010 edition, which was approved by the IASB. So we were transitioning that time from the Framework for the Preparation and Presentation of Financial Statements released before, and then when I was first year college, bigla siyang naging Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting, although it was just 4 chapters at that time. Well, we'll not be going through the details of those 4 chapters naman na, or the titles of them, because we will be focusing here sa nirelease noong March 2018, which is Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting 2018, which is now we simply call as the framework. Okay, that's it. Now, for the course Conceptual Framework and Accounting Standards, this is the very first lesson because you have to learn first the skeleton. You have to learn first the framework. That's why it's called the Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. Okay, so let's have a quick glance first of the contents of the 2018 Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. So we have here the scope and purpose of the Conceptual Framework, and then 8 chapters, which starts with the objectives of general purpose financial reporting and the qualitative characteristics of useful financial information. And then we also have financial statements and the reporting entity, the elements of financial statements, recognition and derecognition, measurement, presentation and disclosure, and concepts of capital and capital maintenance. Now, the video will really be long kung lahat po yan ay pag-uusapan natin today. So for this part 1 of Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting, we will only be having for this video the scope and purpose of the Conceptual Framework, and then the first 2 chapters, which is the objective of general purpose financial reporting and the qualitative characteristics of useful financial information. Now, I hope you will understand each and every word, pero in any case that we can encounter parang medyo kakaiba yung accounting term, then let's try to make it clear sa videong ito. Okay? So yun po. So, let's start with the Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. Let's first start with the first part, scope and purpose of the Conceptual Framework. The Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting describes the objective of and purpose for, the objective and the concepts rather, for general purpose financial reporting. Ano po ba yung sinasabi po nating general purpose financial reporting, and what is the objective of that? What is the purpose of that? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? The purpose of the Conceptual Framework as set in the framework itself has 3. They gave us 3. Number 1, assisting the International Accounting Standards Board to develop these accounting standards that are based on consistent concepts. Number 2, assist preparers to develop consistent accounting policies when no accounting standard applies to a particular transaction or other event. So what they tell us is that we should be able to develop consistent accounting policies. When we say consistent, kung yung ganitong transaction, ganito yung treatment mo sa kanya this month, dapat next month ganun din, Consistency para comparable. Later, di-discuss din natin yung consistency tsaka yung comparability na yan. Okay? Now, the Conceptual Framework tells us that If in any case, there is no accounting standard that applies to a particular transaction, the framework would still be able to guide us to develop consistent accounting policies on those transactions when no standard applies on it, and when a standard allows a choice of accounting policy. Okay? So, kumbaga siya ay natin, starting point and skeleton and guidance. Ayun. And then, the third purpose is to assist all parties to understand and interpret the standards. No? Kaya nga rin po tayo merong mga interpretations committee tsaka yung mga standards interpretations na available para po sa ating mga accounting standards. So, yung ating pong framework, yung ating pong skeleton ang makakatulong with these three purposes that they mentioned in the conceptual framework for financial reporting, status, and purpose. Okay. Now, it is explicitly stated in the conceptual framework for financial reporting that the conceptual framework itself is not an accounting standard. So in any case that this will be given in your quizzes as true or false, that the conceptual framework is an accounting standard, then the answer for that is false because it is explicitly stated that the conceptual framework is not an accounting standard. Nothing in the conceptual framework overrides any accounting standard or any requirement in the standard. So the standards prevail because the conceptual framework is not an accounting standard. Okay, remember that. Then, the conceptual framework contributes to the stated mission of the IFRS Foundation and of the IASB, the International Accounting Standards Board, to develop standards that bring transparency, accountability, and efficiency to financial markets around the world who uses and reads those financial reports. Okay? So, yun po. At saka syempre, yung mismong nagde-develop din po ng standards as well as yung mga gumagamit ng standards para po para po sa pag yung transactions ba natin, no? Yung pagre-record ng transactions natin, paggawa natin ng accounting reports, everyone benefits from it. Okay? No? Basically, let's put it on a very basic notion na kung maayos ang accounting reports, lahat ng users din nun will benefit from it. Okay? Which is the main purpose of accounting, no? In providing financial information, primarily for decision making. Dun po nag-uugat lahat yan at kahit saan man po tayo makarating, dun pa rin po babalik tayo sa mismong purpose ng financial reporting and basically mismong purpose ng accounting. Okay? So that's the status of the framework and the purpose of the framework. We're now ready with Chapter 1, the objective of general purpose of financial reporting. The objective of general purpose financial reporting is to provide financial information. Take note of that. We are providing not just information, but specifically financial information about the reporting entity. When we say reporting entity, it is the entity who reports these financial information or financial reports that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors. Para saan po? In making decisions relating to providing resources to the entity. Basically, we're using these financial information primarily for decision making. Those decisions involve decisions about, number 1, buying, selling, or holding equity and debt instruments. Number 2, providing or settling loans and other forms of credit, or exercising rights to vote on or otherwise influence management's actions that affect the use of the entity's economic resources. Ngayon po, we are doing financial reporting and specifically general purpose financial reporting. Because, number 1, we want to provide financial information about the entity na makakatulong daw po sa mga investors, lenders, and other creditors sa paggawa ng decision relating to where providing resources to the entity. There are investors who invests in the entity, lenders and creditors, sila naman yung mga medyo ilagay natin sa mas mababaw na term, mga nagpapahiram for the entity ng kanilang mga financial needs, no? Pero in a way, parang ganito kasi yan. Paano ko i-evaluate itong company na to? Mag-i-invest ba ako sa kanya or hindi? Or in the case of lenders and creditors, will I provide credit to this company, paano ko siya ma-assess? 'Di ba? So, meron tayong mga decisions na kailangan gawin because of that. No, specifically sila yung mga may decisions na kailangan gawin on that. So ano yung makakatulong sa kanila? Yung financial information na pino-provide ng reporting entity. And that's the objective of general purpose financial reporting. So, as a summary, general purpose financial reporting is about what? Providing financial information about the entity kasi makakatulong po yun sa mga potential investors and other creditors natin na makagawa ng proper decisions para saan? In providing resources to the entity. Okay? So that's the main objective of general purpose financial reporting. Now, to make assessments, to make those evaluations, existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors need information tungkol saan? Number one, the economic resources of the entity. Kung nag-basic accounting na kayo, medyo familiar yan, di ba? Ano ba yung mga resources of the entity? As well as claims against the entity and the changes in those resources and claims. And then, how efficiently and effectively the entity's management and governing board have discharged the responsibilities to the use of those economic resources. Okay? So, lahat po yung dalawang nabanggit natin, yung information na kailangang makita ng users of accounting information sa ating mga general purpose financial reports. General purpose financial reports are not designed to show the value of the reporting entity. That when you read these general purpose financial reports, it tells you automatically the value of the entity. It's not like that. Rather, they provide information to help existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors only to estimate the value of the reporting entity and not outright to show us the value of the reporting entity with the use of those general purpose financial reports. To a large extent, financial reports are based on estimates, judgments, and models rather than exact depictions. Okay? So, uulitin ko po, ang ating pong mga financial reports explicitly stated in the framework, to a large extent, they are based on estimates, judgments, and models. And as we go through in discussing all of these accounting standards in the future, malalaman nyo na much of our financial reports are not really exact depictions of the entity, but rather they are estimates, they are judgments, and different models. Okay? The conceptual framework establishes the concepts that underlie those estimates, judgments, and models. Kaya nga po, sinasabi natin that the framework itself, from the word framework itself, it's the skeleton of everything. It's the starting point. It's the foundation. Okay? Doon po kasi natin ine-establish yung mga concepts behind those estimates, judgments, and models that we report in our financial reports. Okay? Yun po. Now, general purpose financial reports provide information about the financial position of a reporting entity. When we say financial position, that's the financial condition of an entity represented by the entity's assets, liabilities, and capital or equity, which is information about the entity's economic resources and claims against the reporting entity. Sir, now, alam nyo na siguro kung ano yung mismong tinutukoy ko dun sa economic resources and claims against those resources. Financial reports also provide information about the effect of transactions and other events that change a reporting entity's economic resources and claims. Both types of information provide useful input for decisions relating to providing resources to an entity. Hindi pa po natin masyadong iisa-isahin kung ano po ba talaga yung dapat na laman niyang mga financial reports because we will be all going through all of them later on as we discuss the framework and as we discuss the next, which is IAS 1, presentation of financial statements. So, medyo chillax lang kayo, hinga muna, relax, iisa-isahin natin yan para maintindihan. Okay. Now, sige. Ngayon, dito tayo sa sinasabi nating economic resources and claims. Information about the nature and amounts of a reporting entity's economic resources and claims can help users to identify the reporting entity's financial strengths and weaknesses. In short, when we report about the entity's economic resources and claims, it gives us an information about financial strengths and weaknesses of the entity. And basically, for the investors and for other creditors, it is also as can be used as a way of assessment, parang ganon, no? To identify the entity's financial strength and weaknesses. That information can help users to assess the reporting entity's liquidity and solvency, its needs for additional financing, and how successful it is likely to be in obtaining that financing. That information can also help users to assess management's stewardship of the entity's economic resources. When we say stewardship, paano po ba napangasiwaan, ang lalim, or paano po ba napangalagaan ng management yung mga resources na na-entrust sa kanila? Okay? So, yun po yung information na pwedeng ibigay sa atin ng entity's economic resources and claims. Basically, paano po ba pinapangalagaan at pinapangasiwanaan ang lalim. Paano po ba pinapangalagaan ng management yung resources na entrusted po sa kanila? Okay? Sorry, actually, accounting is quite difficult to be translated in our full language, no? Pero I'll do my best po para mas maintindihan ninyo. Ayun, okay. So, comment nyo lang kung, kung may hirap pa rin intindihin. Okay, let's now go to changes in economic resources and claims. Changes in a reporting entity's economic resources and claims. So, syempre, yung mga naka-list down nating resources and claims na yan, may changes na nangyayari dyan due to different transactions that an entity transfers into, which results from an entity's financial performance and from other events or transactions such as issuing debt or equity instruments. Basically, when you sell equity, or when you issue equity instruments, so you're selling company stock, so nagkakaroon ng ownership from others, and then you get money from it. Yan. On a very simple level, ganun siya. No? When you issue debt instruments naman, kasi umuutang ka, so mag-i-issue ka ng debt instruments para makautang ka. Ganun lang ka simple muna. Wag nating laliman masyado kasi we'll all be going through all of them when we discuss the standards. Information about a reporting entity's financial performance. When we say financial performance, we're talking about revenues and expenses na mga representative transactions ng changes in the reporting entity's economic resources. Okay? So, ganun po yun. Now, information about a reporting entity's financial performance helps users to understand the return that the entity has produced on its economic resources. Those economic resources that an entity has are the things that the company use in order for them to generate revenue. Ganun kasimple. Ganun po yun. So, nire-report din po natin yun. Okay? Information about the return the entity has produced can help users to assess the management stewardship of the entity's economic resources. So, dun din po mauuwi, no? Dahil po makikita po natin sa information na ito, yung financial performance ng company, it also gives us an opportunity to assess management stewardship of the entity's economic resources. Okay. So, before I read this slide, balikan po natin yung naituro sa inyo sa basic accounting, or if you're from senior high school ABM, yung tinatawag po nating accrual basis of accounting versus cash basis of accounting. Okay, so when we say accrual basis of accounting, we record transactions when they happen regardless of the time kung kailan na-receive yung cash or kailan binayad yung cash. Okay, when it happens. On the other side of the spectrum, we have cash basis of accounting, in which we record transactions only when there is cash inflow or outflow. Nakadepende sa cash na transaction kung ano yung i-record mong transaction. Okay? So you record the transaction only when there is a cash inflow or outflow, or when there is only kung kailan nangyari po yung receipt ng cash or yung pagbabayad ng cash. Now, our conceptual framework tells us that the financial performance is reflected by accrual accounting. Although inopen din po actually nasa next yung perspective din ng cash basis, pero dito muna tayo sa isa. Accrual accounting depicts the effects of transactions and other events and circumstances on a reporting entity's economic resources and claims in the periods in which those effects occur. So, Doon po natin ilagay ang ating mga puso, no? That we record these transactions when they happen regardless of the resulting cash receipts and payments occur in a different period, okay? So we don't look at the time period of cash inflow and outflow, we record transactions when they happen. Now, if reflected by past cash flows, ganito po sinasabi sa atin ng conceptual framework. Information about a reporting entity's cash flows during a period also helps users to assess the entity's ability to generate future net cash inflows and to assess management stewardship of the entity's economic resources. Kumbaga po, nagagamit din naman po natin ng cash flow information para po ma-assess din po natin yung kakayahan ng isang entity to generate future net cash inflows na papasok sa entity. Also for the purpose of assessing management stewardship on the economic resources of an entity. That information indicates how the reporting entity obtains and spends cash, including information about its borrowing and repayment of debt, cash dividends, and other cash distributions to investors and other factors that may affect the entity's liquidity and solvency. Kaya nga po, meron po tayong isang financial statement that is dedicated on telling us about the entity's cash flows, which is specifically called the statement of cash flows, which is the only financial statement prepared under the cash basis of accounting. Kasi nga po cash flow yung pinag-uusapan po natin doon. However, kahit po diniscuss sa conceptual framework, both accrual basis and cash basis, tandaan po ninyo na dito sa part na to is ine-explain po yung importance ng pagre-report ng entity's cash flow because it helps us assess the ability of the entity to generate future net cash inflows for us to properly assess the management stewardship of the resources of the entity entrusted to them. However, on a very basic notion na tinuturo po sa inyo, since your basic accounting, we record transactions under the accrual basis of accounting. Okay, so dito po sa part na to is pinapakita po sa inyo yung importance din naman ng pag-report din po natin ng entities cash flows. Changes in economic resources and claims. Babasahin ko kasi nakaharang yung face ko dito. Not resulting from financial performance. Yun po yung nakalagay dyan. Sorry, nakalimutan ko. Nandito pa lang face ko sa part na to ng slide. Sorry po. Okay. Changes in economic resources and claims not resulting from financial performance. A reporting entity's economic resources and claims may also change for reasons other than financial performance. Ano po yung example? Issuing debt or equity instruments. So basically, it's more of it's not about revenues and expenses. No? To put it very simply, no? It's about issuing debt or equity instruments na nabanggit natin kanina. Information about this type of change is necessary to give users a complete understanding of why the reporting entity's economic resources and claims changed and the implications of those change for its future financial performance na hindi naman kaya nagkakaroon ng changes in economic resources and claims na hindi naman nagre-result from financial performances because meron din po tayong mga other special transactions pa like issuing debt or equity instruments. Okay? So, ang sinasabi lang po dito is meron po siyang mga implications for future financial performance din naman. Kahit hindi siya directly nanggaling from the entity's activities generating financial performance. Okay? Information about the use of the entity's economic resources. Use of the entity's economic resources. Information about how efficiently and effectively the reporting entity's management has discharged its responsibilities to use the entity's economic resources helps users to assess the management stewardship of those resources. Di ba medyo paulit-ulit tayo kasi tinitignan natin paano po ba talaga napangalagaan ng entity. How do they made use of those resources at paano nila napangasiwaan, paano nila napangalagaan. Such information is also useful for predicting how efficiently and effectively management will use the entity's economic resources in future periods. So nagkakaroon po tayo ng konting forecasting and prediction, no, na kung ganito yung performance ng entity, paano po ba natin siya i-expect pa in the future? Okay? So it's more of an assessment na while you're reading these financial statements, these financial reports, it also gives you an opportunity to understand and predict how efficiently and effectively management will be able to go through all of these, generating proper benefits or generating benefits rather from these economic resources in future periods, and as well as from these past transactions, how was the entity able to assess? How was the entity able to take care of the resources that were entrusted to them? Okay. Examples of management's responsibilities to use the entity's economic resources include protecting those resources, from unfavorable effects of economic factors, such as price and technological changes, and ensuring that the entity complies with applicable laws, regulations, and contractual provisions. Okay? Kasi po, responsibility naman talaga ng, sinabi naman dito, di ba? Responsibility po ng management na gamitin ang kanilang mga economic resources and protecting those resources from unfavorable effects of different economic factors na binanggit naman po dito sa framework. So it's about looking at how the management is properly taking care of these resources. And that's one thing that you can really see in the financial statements. Okay? Ganun lang po kasimple. Yun na pala yun. Okay, let's go to chapter 2, and this will be the last part of the discussion for this video. And then, itutuloy po natin sa mga different other chapters sa mga susunod na video. Let's have chapter 2, qualitative characteristics of useful financial information. In this part, we will be talking about yung ating financial information, no, as accountants. Syempre, isa tayo sa gagawa niyan, no? Yung financial information na yon, no? What are their characteristics to make it very useful, no? Kasi as you know, discussed sa inyo in basic accounting, that we have different users, no? Both internal and external users of accounting information. Those accounting information, those financial information, how can we make it very useful? So, chapter 2 of the framework discusses the different qualitative characteristics. Simply put, what are the characteristics of useful accounting information, of useful financial information? Okay? So, as a quick glance on that chapter, ito po talaga yan, no? So, we have the qualitative characteristics of useful financial information, which can be divided into two. The fundamental qualitative characteristics, ibig sabihin mga starting point na by default dapat meron siya nito. And then, ang magpapa-enhance sa kanya is syempre itong nasa enhancing qualitative characteristics. Okay, ganun po yun. So, for fundamental qualitative characteristics, we have relevance and faithful representation. And then for enhancing, we have comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability. Tapos dun po sa ating fundamental qualitative characteristics, to be relevant, the information should possess predictive value and confirmatory value. And then to be for an information to be faithfully represented, it should be complete, neutral, and free from error. Ngayon po, kung medyo parang mahirap pang intindihin yung mga words na nandito, we'll now discuss them one by one. The fundamental qualitative characteristics of useful financial information are relevance and faithful representation. In short, for a financial information to be useful, it should be relevant and faithfully represented. Okay? Let's start with relevance. Relevant financial information is capable of making a difference in the decision made by users. Nabasa mo, naapektuhan ka, ibig sabihin, relevant sa'yo. Napaisip ka. No? Ganun po yun. You can say that financial information is relevant if it's capable of making a difference in your decision. Okay? Naapektuhan ka. na-struck ka dun sa nabasa mo, no? Na, medyo OA lang, pero it's relevant when it affects you, when it affects your decisions, no? When it affects something in your decision making. Ganun siya, okay? Information may be capable, wait lang, palobat na ako. Okay. Information may be capable of making a difference in a decision even if some users choose not to take advantage of it or are already aware of it from other sources. Hindi naman po sinasabi ng framework na relevant kapag may ginawa ka lang na action. No? Relevant lang yung information kasi may ginawa akong action eh. So, kapag wala akong ginawang action, hindi na siya relevant sa akin. Hindi po ganun. No? Yung sinasabi lang po nating relevance dito is talagang kapag when you read the information, whether you take action or not, when it's something that struck you, when you felt something about it, then it's relevant. Because it was capable of making a difference in your decision. Whether or not you take action on it or not. It was able to move something in you. Okay? Ganun siya. Medyo OA lang, no? Kasi hindi naman ganun ka-OA sa business world. Pero what we mean to say here is, even though you choose not to take advantage of that information or you're already aware of it from other sources, when it is capable of making a change in your decision, then it's relevant. Okay? Now, putting it more in detail, according to the framework, financial information is capable of making a difference in decisions if it has predictive value, confirmatory value, or both. Minsan tinatanong yan sa mga quizzes or examination. Ang relevance ba, kailangan parehong present yung predictive value and confirmatory value? Or pwedeng isa lang? Okay, so ganun. So, actually, sinasabi naman po sa atin sa framework, nakalagay dito, or both. So, dapat meron daw predictive value o di kaya confirmatory value. O baka naman, pwede both. Pero mas maganda kung nandoon ang both. Diba? Mas favorable yon. Let's talk about predictive value. Financial information has predictive value if it can be used as an input to the processes employed by users to predict future outcomes. Financial information need not be a prediction or forecast to have predictive value. Financial information with predictive value is employed by users in making their own predictions. Pasimplihin natin. Kapag daw po binasa natin ang mga financial reports na ito, it helps you predict the entity's future. Ang sabi po sa atin ng framework, hindi naman po kailangan na explicitly mag-report tayo sa financial reports ng mga financial predictions and forecast natin as part of our financial statements. Actually, our financial statements doesn't have that explicitly. No? Wala po tayong mga amounts na nagpe-prediction or forecast. Sa kabilang side po ng accounting yon, sa management accounting, yung mga budgets and predictions natin, mga forecast natin, doon po sa kabilang dimension yun ng pagtuturo ko. Sa management accounting po yon, so doon po natin yung pag-uusapan. Hindi naman po sinasabi na kailangan mag-report tayo ng mga predictive amounts to have predictive value. Ang sinasabi lang po dito, the financial information generated by these general purpose financial reports should help the users of accounting information predict future outcomes of the entity. So in short, these financial information should help those users of accounting information to predict the entity's future. Okay? Ganon. Financial information, okay, so yung confirmatory value pala yun. Okay? So yun po yung sinasabi po nating predictive value. Ano naman po yung sinasabi natin confirmatory value? Financial information has confirmatory value if it provides feedback about previous evaluations. Putting it simply, you can confirm what really happened in the past. So let's make it very, very simple. When we say relevance, ganito po yan. Sabi natin, pag relevance, predictive value and confirmatory value. So ibig sabihin, financial information is relevant when it has confirmatory value. You can use that information to confirm what happened in the past. Also, relevance, ang sabi, may predictive value because you can predict what can happen in the future, or you can do a forecast of what can happen in the future. So, confirming the past and predicting the future. Yun po ang relevance. Na matutulungan tayong makapag-confirm at predict. Pero hindi po sinasabi na kailangan explicitly meron kang mga amounts pang forecast. No? Hindi naman po ganon. When we say relevance, it has predictive value that can help you predict future outcomes and confirmatory value that can help you confirm what really happened. Or yung sinasabi po natin dito na, it provides feedback, it can confirm something in you, or it can change something about previous evaluations. Okay? So yun po yung sinasabi nating relevance. Now, another concept in relevance is yung tinatawag po nating materiality. Materiality is information is material if omitting, misstating, medyo mali yung lagay, medyo mali yung amount, or obscuring it could reasonably be expected to influence the decisions of the primary users of the general purpose financial reports make on the basis of those reports, which provide financial information about a specific reporting entity. Pag sinabi po nating materiality, hindi po siya sa laki o liit ng amount. Pero para maintindihan po ninyo, medyo lalagyan natin ng amount, although hindi po ito yung hard and fast rule at hindi po ito yung mismong accounting rule. Ito po yung example lang. For example, kung ang total assets ng entity ay 1 million, yung 10 pesos, medyo immaterial siguro yun. Pero yung 1 million ng assets ng entity, tapos nagkamali ka with an amount of 400,000 pesos, which is 40% of the asset, material yun, malaki yun no? Pero hindi ko rin naman sinasabi sa inyo na porke malaki material na, no? Although, most of the time, ganun kasi. Ang sinasabi lang natin is, it's not about the amounts. It's actually, if you omit something, or let's say, for example, you omit a certain item, hindi amount, talagang mismong item in the face of the financial statements, it would reasonably be expected to influence the decision of the user of that accounting information kung sakaling mamamali or mawawala yung item na yon. Hindi po natin sinasabi sa materiality na it's about the bigness of the amount. How big was the amount na nawawala, na na-misstate? Hindi ganun. But for most of the time kasi, material pag malaki. Although, pag malaki yung amount, medyo material. Pero hindi po natin sinasabing yun ang hard and fast rule ng accounting. Being very specific about accounting terminologies and accounting definitions, we put materiality in a sense that an item is material. If you omit it or misstate it, it could reasonably be expected to influence the decisions of the primary users of those financial reports. Okay? You will learn more about materiality and how you properly apply materiality in our next sessions, and as well as when you take auditing classes. No? Mas dun po natin nilalagay. Kasi sa auditing, naglalagay na rin po sila dyan ng mga percentages, kung when to say it's really material, or in actual practice, when can we say that an item is material. It's not something that we can cover here habang usapan natin. Pero as a primary level of introduction sa inyo, ganun po natin nilalagay yung konsepto ng materiality. Although it is sometimes being associated on how big an amount is, but it's not the proper way to define it in accounting parlance. Okay? In short, it's better to learn it practically, not on a very formal perspective. Okay, so you'll get on that. Relax. Okay, now let's move on to faithful representation. Sabi po natin, useful financial information is relevant and faithfully represented. So ano naman po yung part ng faithful representation? To be useful, financial information must not only present relevant phenomena, but it also must faithfully represent the substance of the phenomena, or the phenomena rather, that it purports to represent. In many circumstances, the substance of an economic phenomenon and its legal form are the same. Substance, form, same. But if they are not the same, providing information only about the legal form would not faithfully represent the economic phenomenon, and that is what we call the concept in accounting as substance over form. Mas mahalaga ang substance kesa sa kanyang legal form. So, ang mas pinupatungkulan po natin, kung hindi po pareho, ang substance of economic phenomenon and legal form, we go to properly and faithfully represent financial information, we go to the substance of the economic phenomenon kapag ka hindi daw po sila pareho. Yun po yung sinasabi po nating substance over form. Okay, so, how do we faithfully represent our financial reports? Or how to make our financial information useful? To be perfectly faithful representation, although sinasabi rin po sa framework na walang perfect sa mundo, no? We're not really achieving perfection because that's not really possible. But to be faithfully represented, a depiction would have 3 characteristics. So to achieve faithful representation, it should be complete, neutral, and free from error. Let's talk about them one by one. A complete depiction includes all information necessary for a user to understand the phenomenon being depicted, including all necessary descriptions and explanations. For example, a complete depiction of a group of assets would include, at a minimum, the description of the nature of the assets in the group, a numerical depiction of all the assets in the group, and a description of what the numerical depiction represents. Is it historical cost basis or fair value basis? Ibig sabihin po ng complete depiction, lahat ng pwede nating malaman tungkol sa isang line item in the financial statement, maiintindihan natin kasi it was depicted completely. In short, kompleto, nandun yung kailangan natin. Okay? Another thing, we have neutrality or being neutral. So a neutral depiction is without bias in the selection or presentation of financial information. A neutral depiction is not slanted, weighted, emphasized, or de-emphasized, or otherwise manipulated to increase the probability that financial information will be received favorably or unfavorably by users. Pag neutral po, hindi po tayo nagiging bias. In short, we only report in our financial reports. We only present our financial statements in a neutral, without bias level na hindi ka gagawa ng mga financial statements dahil, kunyari, may gusto ka lang ma-win na investor. Medyo gagandahan mo yung financial report para sa kanya, para pag pinresent mo sa kanya, magi-invest siya sa'yo. So, kapag ginawa mo yun, nagkakaroon ka na ng bias na, gusto ko kasi siyang maging investor, kaya gagandahan ko yung financial reports ko para sa kanya. Mali po yun. Okay? So, as accountants, wag po natin gagawin ng ating mga financial information or financial reports with bias. Kasi po, that's a violation of faithful representation. Okay? Parang sa love, 'di ba? Joke lang. Okay. So, okay, 'di ba? 'Di ba dapat totoo lang tayo, parang ganoon sa ating representation ng sarili natin. Huwag na natin Huwag na natin i-connect doon, pero medyo ganoon 'yon. Okay? So, we prepare these financial statements without bias na hindi tayo nagpapatungkol sa na kasi gusto natin siya maging investor or gusto natin maganda yung image natin sa ganitong side ng, or even political, minsan ganun sa ganitong side ng group of people, tas gagandahan natin yung FS natin for them. Hindi na po siya neutral depiction. So we only report what really happened, no? It includes honesty din parang ganun. So yun. Okay. Next. Okay, ano naman po yung sinasabi natin about neutrality na, ewan ko kung nabanggit na sa inyo to sa basic accounting. We have what we call prudence. Okay, being prudent. Neutrality is supported by the exercise of prudence. Prudence is the exercise of caution when making judgments about conditions. Sorry yung judgment ko, na kanina ko pa napapansin may I pala. Sorry, wala palang iyan dapat, no? Pero ito yata ang British English na spelling ng judgment, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, British English yata yung spell ng ating conceptual framework. So, sorry for the non-American English na makikita nyo dito siguro, no? Sorry. Yun na yun. Okay, so prudence is the exercise of caution when making judgments under conditions of uncertainty. When you're uncertain, take caution. Ganun siya. The exercise of prudence means that assets and income are not overstated and liabilities and expenses are not understated. So, ingat tayo na wag mag-report ng sobrang assets and income. At ingat tayo na wag magre-report ng mga liabilities and expense na kulang. Okay? We have to take caution when making judgments under conditions of uncertainty. And that's what we call being prudent, because prudence is an ingredient of neutrality. Okay. And then lastly, for faithful representation, kailangan meron siyang freedom from error. Okay? No? Maiwasan po natin yung misstatements, mga pagkakamali, no? Free from error means there are no errors or omissions in the description of the phenomenon. The process used to produce the reported information has been selected and applied with no errors in the process. In this context, free from error does not mean perfectly accurate in all respects. Sa totoo lang po, in accounting, hindi naman po talaga tayo makakarating sa 100% accuracy. And as I have been telling you, most accounting techniques and estimate, basically, it involves many judgment, many estimates. So, hindi po talaga tayo makakarating sa perfectly accurate 100%. Pero, ang sinasabi po sa atin ng framework is that freedom from error is there are no omissions in how you describe and report the phenomenon, and the process itself to produce that information, sana maiwasan po natin yung pagkakamali. And basically, on the calculative, is there an English word for that? And also on the calculation side, basically, accounting is about calculations as well. So, on the quantitative side ng pagka-calculate natin, syempre dapat dun din po iwasan po nating magkamali. But again, our framework tells us that, kasama ko sa gumawa, the framework tells us that it should, wala naman po tayong mararating na 100% accuracy. Ang sinasabi lang po, lahat ng depictions natin, lahat ng representations natin, lahat ng prosesong pagdadaanan, sana iwasang magkamali. Okay? Kasi an item will also be faithfully represented kapag ka talagang free siya from any error. Yun. Ganon. Okay? That's it. Let's now go to enhancing qualitative characteristics. Kaya po siya sinabing enhancing kasi di ba may fundamental na kanina, which is relevance and faithful representation. So let's enhance the usefulness of accounting information using 4 enhancing qualitative characteristics, which are comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability. Yun. These are qualitative characteristics that enhance the usefulness of information that both is relevant and provides a faithful representation of what it really wants you to represent or what you really want to represent. Okay? So, isa-isahin po natin ang 4 na iyan. Comparability. Information about a reporting entity is more useful if it can be compared, number 1, with similar information about other entities, and number 2, with similar information about the same entity for another period or another date. Ano yun? Okay, meron po tayong dalawang konsepto sa comparability. Una, ang sabi daw po, magiging kapaki-pakinabang ang mga reports na nilalabas natin kapag pwede mo daw po siyang i-compare with similar information about other entities. Iko-compare mo ang financial statements ni Company A kay Company B, pero mas magandang comparison kung sila ay same industry. Kung nagko-compare ka ng financial information ng one company comparing it to another, ang tawag po doon ay intercomparability. Comparability po ang tawag doon. Okay? If it can be compared with similar information about other entities. Pangalawa naman pong comparability is similar information about the same entity for another period or another date. Ibig sabihin, Company A, financial statements ng 2021 versus Company A din naman na financial statements ng 2020. Yun po yung sinasabi nating comparability. When you're comparing two financial statements for another period or another date with the same entity, ang tawag naman po doon, intra-comparability. Comparing with oneself, intra-comparability. Yun po yun. So, meron po tayong, in short, ito pong sentence na ito can be translated into the words intercomparability and intra-comparability. Comparability is the qualitative characteristics that enables users to identify and understand similarities and differences among items. Unlike other qualitative characteristics, comparability does not relate to a single item, kaya po ang sinasabi natin, comparison requires at least two items. When we go to the presentation of financial statements later on in IAS 1, malalaman nyo kung bakit nagkakaroon tayo ng comparative accounting information that we report financial statements at least by 2 years. Both 2020 and 2021 ang nasa FS. Pero pag-uusapan pa po natin yon sa mga susunod na lesson. So, yun po yung sinasabi natin, comparability. The requirement basically is at least 2 items for you to be able to compare. Pero sa buhay, wag magko-compare ha. Yan. Hanapin ang sariling success, hanapin ang sariling happiness nang hindi nagko-compare sa ibang tao. Okay? Para mas happy tayo. Kasi kung compare tayo ng compare, hindi tayo magiging happy at hindi natin ma-appreciate yung mga sarili nating wins, no? Yung mga sarili nating successes, mga sarili nating wins, whether big or small. Kasi nagko-compare tayo sa iba. Ang swerte ni Juan, hindi swerte ni Pedro. Tandaan niyo yan. You have your own success story. So don't compare. Yung comparability na sinasabi lang natin dito is for accounting purposes. Talagang nag-GMRC. Okay, next. Consistency, how does it relate to comparability? Ang sinasabi po natin dito, natin talaga yun, inaangking ko. Okay. What the framework tells us is that consistency, although related to comparability, is not the same. Pero related silang konsepto. Kasi, mas madali naman mag-compare kung consistent yung pagkaka-apply ng accounting policies, accounting estimates, ganun po yung sinasabi dito. Consistency refers to the use of the same methods for the same items, either for period to period within a reporting entity or in a single period across entities. Comparability is the goal and consistency helps to achieve that goal. In short, mas madali pong mag-compare kung consistent yung basis na pinanggagalingan natin because from period to period, it used the same methods for the same items. It's hard for you to compare depreciation which was computed in straight line versus double declining balance. It's kind of hard to, not really hard, but medyo parang hindi mo ma-relate ng maayos ng mabuti yung pagka-compare sa kanila kasi hindi naging consistent. Parang ganon. So, the goal is to be comparable, and to achieve that goal, you need to apply consistency using the same methods for the same items. Although, sa mga susunod pa po nating pag-aaralan in detail na accounting standards is talagang meron po tayo mga selective choices ng accounting methods na hindi maiiwasan. Inventory, first in, first out, or weighted average. Depreciation, straight line method, double declining balance method, unit of hours, unit of production, madami. So, pag-uusapan pa po natin yan sa mga susunod na lesson. Okay? Consistency is the key, di ba? Alam niyo yan, mga ganyan, alam niyo yan. Okay, next. Verifiability. Verifiability means that different knowledgeable and independent observers could reach the same thing. Okay? Although not necessarily complete agreement that a particular depiction is a faithful representation. Let's put it in a very simple example. Accountant A versus Accountant B. Kung ano yung kinompute ni Accountant A, medyo similar or pareho sa makakompute ni Accountant B. Yun yung sinasabi nating verifiability. something is verifiable that different knowledgeable and independent observers could reach the same thing, the same consensus, although the framework tells us that not necessarily a complete agreement. At least it's verifiable. Okay? So in short, the financial information that we should report should be verifiable kahit sino pang mag-recompute niyan. Okay? Ganon. Verification can be direct or indirect. Direct verification means verifying an amount or other representation through direct observation. For example, counting cash. So kung ang na-compute na cash is 10,000, dapat yung verification ng pag-recompute ng cash, 10,000 din. Direct verification yon through direct observation. Pag sinabi naman pong indirect verification, checking the inputs to a model, formula, or other technique and recalculating the outputs from the same methodology. So dito sa direct observation, talagang directly nandun lang, no? O, yun nga, example dito by counting cash. Pero pag indirect verification, you are recalculating the outputs from the same methodology na kung ano yung nakuha niya, dapat ganun din yung makompute mo. Okay? An example is the carrying amount of inventory by checking the inputs and recalculating the ending inventory using the same cost flow assumption. Okay, wait. Paano ko i-explain to lalo na sa mga hindi pa i-inventory accounting, no? Kasi I think this subject is really for first year, no? But let's try to make it simple. Okay, for example, pag sinabi pong carrying amount of inventory, ito po yung amount ng inventory. Alam niyo naman siguro inventory, it's a kind of asset, di ba? So, ito po yung amount ng inventory na nire-report natin sa face ng statement of financial position, sa balance sheet. Diba? Yan. Nagawa niyo yan sa FABM. Kung galing kayo ABM, so nagawa niyo na yan sa FABM. Inventory, tas ganitong amount for the end of the year. Ganun siya. So, yun yung sinasabing carrying amount of the inventory. So, first thing is, how do you verify that? Okay? Quantities and cost. And how do you recalculate it? Dapat, you should be able to recalculate the ending inventory using the same cost flow assumption. So, for example, meron po kasi tayong mga different cost flow methods para makarating sa ending inventory. Merong first in, first out, merong weighted average method. So, pag si accountant A, kinompute niya yung ending inventory using first in, first out method. Si accountant B, pag kinompute niya rin yung ending inventory using first in, first out method, dapat ma-verify nilang isa't isa na. Sakto lang. Pareho lang dapat. Okay? Ganun po yung level ng verifiability na sinasabi natin. Okay? Using the same cost flow assumption, using the same methodology, you should recalculate the same output. Okay? Yun po yung example natin ng verifiability. Okay, next. Timeliness. Sabi nila kasi, if it's not timely, hindi na siya relevant, 'di ba? Oh, parang sa, 'di ba, pag huli ka na sa chismis, 'di ba? Parang fearing mo hindi ka na relevant, 'di ba? Parang hindi ka hindi ka nakasagap, huli ka. No? Hindi naman sa ganun, joke lang. Pero when we say timeliness, having information to decision makers in time to be capable of influencing their decisions. So, ibig sabihin, our financial information should really be timely when the users need it for their information and decision making. Generally, the older the information, the less useful it is. Although there's a disclaimer in the framework. Some information, basically old information, may continue to be timely long after the end of a reporting period because some users may need to identify and assess trends. So, ang sinasabi po natin sa timeliness is, on the time na kailangan siya, dapat nandun na yung financial information kasi mahalaga siya sa decision making. Kaya sinasabi po dito na, it's less useful the more older yung information. Pero, saan po pumapasok ngayon yung kahalagahan ng older information? If you need to identify and assess trends, then it's the time that you go through much more older information. Okay? For example, you want to assess the trend of sales. So when you're checking trends, it's not enough just to get 2 to 3 years. No? A trend is usually like 5 years. Or if you want a much bigger trend, 10 years. So, mas nagiging useful din yung old information when you are checking much more bigger trends. No? So, yun naman po yung sinasabi natin sa atin about timeliness ng information. Pero, as a as a fast rule siguro, no, mas maganda ang information kapag fresh off the press. Oo, na talagang nandyan when you need it. No? Because, sabi, the older information, medyo nagiging lesser yung usefulness niya. Okay? Pero yun nga, babalik din tayo doon na may gamit din naman yung medyo old na information for some decisions that you have to make as well. And lastly, understandability. Classifying, characterizing, and presenting information clearly and concisely. Basically, our goal is to make our financial statements as understandable as possible. Pero may kahingian, alalim. May requirement din po, syempre, sa mga gumagamit ng financial reports. The framework says that some phenomena are inherently complex and cannot be made easy to understand. Excluding information about those phenomena from financial reports might make the information in financial reports easier to understand. However, those reports would be incomplete and therefore possibly misleading. So, sana nandun po yung level of understanding din po natin ng phenomenon mismo, no? Excluding information about those phenomena from financial reports might make the information in those financial reports easier to understand. So, babalansehin po natin kung ano yung mga dapat din ilagay to make it understandable. Or baka naman lagay tayo ng information, mas lalo siyang hindi naging understandable. So, ang sinasabi po dito is, babalansehin natin to make it clear and concise, to make it understandable, ano yung mga dapat mong ilagay, ano yung mga hindi mo dapat ilagay para maging understandable siya. Baka pag may binawas ka, hindi siya understandable. Pagka nilagyan mo naman ng nilagyan, kasi nga naging complex yung phenomenon, hindi lalo hindi naintindihan. Kaya dapat babalansehin mo. Okay? Ito pala yung sinasabing kahingian. Sorry, dito pa lang pala yun. Okay? Ano pa yung sinasabing requirement naman doon sa mga magbabasa ng financial reports? Financial reports are prepared for users who have a reasonable knowledge of business and economic activities, who will review and analyze the information diligently. At times, even well-informed and diligent users may need to seek the aid of an advisor to understand information about complex economic phenomena. So, ang hinihingi po sa atin, sana, kung tayo naman po yung nasa side na tayo user of that accounting information, kailangan tayo po mismo may reasonable knowledge of business and economic activities. Ang understandability po na hinihingi dito ng framework is, kailangan pag pinabasa mo sa grade 1, maiintindihan nyo yung FS, hindi nabaliw yung bata, di ba? Hindi ganun. Hindi po ganun. Ang sinasabi natin dito is, sana yung users din po ng FS is, meron din siyang, kumbaga, relatively, hindi ko masabi yung word, relatively sufficient amount of business and economic knowledge or those activities to understand kung ano yung binabasa niya, no? So, may requirement din po na may alam ka naman ng konti sa business and accounting, ano ba? Pag binasa mo yung FS, to achieve also yung understandability. So, if you read this, parang it takes two to tango, no? I will make my FS understandable, but please, no, do your part as well naman na maintindihan. Sinabi rin naman dito na sometimes you may need to seek the aid of an advisor to understand some complex economic phenomena. And that is okay. Okay? You ask help if you need it, no? And that's fine. Yung sinasabi dyan. Okay? So, para maka-achieve ng understandability as, kung ito ay opinion ko lang, parang it takes a two-way process na sa side ng information report preparers, yun, sana maging understandable yung mga nire-represent nating information in our financial reports. Pero on the side of the users, the users, those financial reports are only prepared for users who should have a reasonable knowledge of certain business and economic activities. And should they be complex, then you need to seek the aid of an advisor who would make it much more understandable for you. So it takes two to tango. Okay? Now, all of these things that we have discussed, no, and the process itself of financial reporting is we have what we call the cost constraint of useful financial reporting. Cost is a pervasive constraint on the information that can be provided by financial reporting. Reporting financial information imposes costs, and it is important that those costs are justified by the benefits of reporting that information. There are several types of costs and benefits to consider. Putting it in summary, meron po tayong tinatawag na cost-benefit analysis na if you're reporting something and it's too costly to report more than the benefits that you can gain from it, it's not advisable. Okay? No? So, dapat po, reporting, ang sabi po kasi dito, yung pagre-report din po natin ng financial information ay may kaakibat na cost. And it is important that those costs are justified by the benefits of reporting that information. So, you balance it out. No? Yun po yung tinatawag po nating cost-benefit analysis. Okay? Because reporting financial information imposes cost, it is important that those costs are justified by the benefits of reporting that information. You should gain benefit from it, and the cost of reporting that item should not exceed those benefits. Okay? So, yun po. Yung ating qualitative characteristics of useful financial information. And to test kung medyo naintindihan nyo ba yung ating pinag-uusapan, let's have a 5-item quiz. All of these are in multiple choice format. Sinasanay na kayo for that kasi ganyan ang board exam. So, ganun din sa atin. So, sisikapin po natin na every video natin at least merong mga 5 items ng quiz para matest nyo yung sarili nyo kung naintindihan nyo ba yung pinagsasabi ko ng isang oras na pala, na isang oras dito. Okay? So, let's have a quiz. 1 to 5. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Hindi ko naman kayo mapipigilan doon. So, hindi ko kayo bibigyan ng time limit kasi you can pause the video to read the question. So, just read the question. If you need more time, pause the video, then answer reveal tayo. Ganun lang. Okay? Sige, let's start with question number 1. Which of the following is incorrect? A. One of the purposes of the conceptual framework is to assist preparers to develop consistent accounting policies when a specific standard applies to a particular transaction or other event. B. The conceptual framework is not an accounting standard. C. The objective of general-purpose financial reporting is to provide financial information about the reporting entity that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors in making decisions relating to providing resources to the entity. D. Existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors need information about the economic resources of the entity, claims against the entity, and changes in those economic resources and claims to make proper assessments. Pause the video when you need more time and play it again when you're ready. The incorrect rather. So the correct answer is letter A because that's the incorrect one. Because what made it incorrect? One of the purposes of the conceptual framework is to assist preparers to develop consistent accounting policies when there is no specific accounting standard that applies on a particular transaction. Okay? So, dun po siya medyo namali. Okay? Medyo tricky po ang accounting theory multiple choice questions. Minsan, konting words lang yung binabago. Namamali na siya. So, dapat nandun po talaga. Ganun po dapat yung level of understanding na meron kayo. Okay? And then B, C, and D will be true by then. Okay? Let's move on to question number 2. Information about the nature and amounts of a reporting entity's economic resources and claims can, letter A, help users identify the reporting entity's financial strengths and weaknesses. B. Help users assess the reporting entity's liquidity and solvency. C. Help users to assess management stewardship of the entity's economic resources. D. Help users to assess the reporting entity's need for additional financing and how successful it is likely to be in obtaining that financing. E. All of the above. Pause the video when you need more time and play it again when you're ready. The correct answer is letter E. Yan. May mga accounting questions naman po tayong ganyan. A, B, C, and D is correct. So, all of the above siya. All of the above, di ko na-explain. Yun yun. Yan lang din naman yung pinag-usapan natin kanina. Number 3. Statement 1. Information about a reporting entity's financial performance helps users to understand the return that the entity has produced on its economic resources. Statement 2. Accrual accounting depicts the effects of transactions and other events and circumstances on a reporting entity's economic resources and claims in the periods in which the resulting cash receipts and payments occur. Statement A, 1 is 2, 2 is false. B, 1 is false, 2 is true. C, both are true. D, both are false. Pause the video if you need more time and play it again when you're ready. The correct answer is A. Statement 1 is true, statement 2 is false. Kasi sabi po natin, in accrual accounting, we record transactions when they happen regardless of cash receipts and payments occurrence. Kasi ang nangyari sa statement 2 is naging cash basis siya, di ba? Yun. Okay? Number 4. Which of the following concepts are not closely related to relevance as a fundamental qualitative characteristic of useful financial information? Basahin nyo na lang yung choices. Pagod na ako. Pause the video to read and then play it again when you're ready. The correct answer is B. A neutral depiction of financial information is without bias in the selection of presentation of financial information. Ang tanong sa inyo is about relevance. So, dapat puro tungkol sa relevance yan. Predictive value, confirmatory value, tsaka materiality ang nasa relevance, di ba? Ang neutrality ay nasaan? Neutral, complete, free from error. Nasaan yon? Sa faithful representation. So, kahit tama yung letter B, hindi siya closely related sa relevance kasi para saan siya? Sa faithful representation. Oh, di ba? Ganun yun. Okay? Lastly, number 5. Which of the following statements are talaga? Is pala yan dapat. Which of the following statements is? Isa lang. Kamali ako, sorry. Which of the following statements is incorrect? A, B, C, D, E. Pause the video if you need more time and play it again when you're ready. The incorrect one, which is the correct answer, the incorrect one is letter B. Understandability means that different knowledgeable and independent observers could reach consensus, although not necessarily complete agreement, that a particular depiction is a faithful representation. That is verifiability. Okay? Thank you for being with us today, and our next lesson is Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting Continuation, Part 2 of Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button. Comment down your questions, suggestions, and reactions for this video. This has been Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH. To God be all the glory, honor, and praise. Thank you very much and have a great day. Baby.